when you're encouraging, what are the things that you had to process or think about, or even steps practically leading up to that to help you really feel comfortable with that decision and not feel rushed back to the rat race?
Well, one of them is I truly believed in the services that I had to bring to the world for the women who have struggled just like me. There's this desire and this burning desire and this belief that I could help women out there. And it's been truly remarkable. It's been the most rewarding job ever. Like I've implemented some like multi-million-dollar projects, and none of them have felt as rewarding as helping other women succeed. And so for me, preparing myself to transition was that belief that I can do this, I can do hard things, and just going all in.
Welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I got Shar Cheung here, who's going to talk a little bit about expertise around yo-yo dieting and nutrition and expertise in those areas. But super stoked to have her so you can listen about her origin story and so many of the amazing things that's going to help you with really kind of balancing a lot of different things in your health and wellness. Char, super excited to have you on here, Shar, to really kind of help us with it. Starting off, before we jump into your origin story, what do you practically apply to yourself with understanding as yourself being a higher performer? What does that look like to you? What's the definition? How do you apply those things? I'd love to hear your input in that.
Honestly, it's consistency. And that's like wherever you go in life. It could be in relationships, it could be in, your dieting, your work ethic. The more you do the reps, the better you're going to get at it. And I find that with consistency really drives kind of high performance.
Love that. And how is that applied to your business? Like, tell us a little bit about your success.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? What you specialize? Tell the audience a little bit about, like, if someone looked at, like, skimming who you are in your backstory of, like, what you've accomplished leading up to your success right now. And then we'll dive into more of the roots of everything. But what are you known for? What do people know you for?
So right now, people know me as a macronutrition coach. So I really help women transform their nutrition, which ultimately transforms their life. So many women like myself have struggled about what do we need to do to lose weight? And I know that, diet culture looks badly or down on like weight loss. But really for me, I was at a point in my life where I was at my highest weight and I was like, I thought I knew what I had to do to lose it and I wasn't losing it. And so it was when I was introduced to macronutrition that it literally transformed my whole life. And I ended up leaving a very successful, highly lucrative career to pursue my coaching and helping other women who struggle just like myself and wanting to improve their
That's
whole
amazing.
relationship with food and just live a healthier lifestyle overall.
I love that. How long have you had this struggle, and going back
Oh
into the
gosh.
origin story of like where this started? Like, help us. Was this a Hollywood moment, a line in the sand? Like, help us and bring us back to the day where you're like, something has to shift and
Yeah.
change, and you discovering this.
So we do this work inside my programs with all my clients because everyone has a backstory of why they feel or have these thoughts around food. And so when I think about my background and my journey, it really started young, like watching my parents and more specifically my mom and choosing what she eats or what she doesn't eat. And then, leading that into my teenage years, I remember in high school, I was talking to one of the teachers and we were talking about healthy weights and she put a number out there and I was above that number that she had said. I think she said, I can't remember the numbers, but say it was like, oh, you should be 110 pounds. I was 125 pounds, but that number stuck in my head thinking, oh my God, I have to be 110 pounds to be a healthy weight. I was 5'7", but that number stuck with me for so many years. And so I remember buying like magazines because we didn't have cell phones or anything back then. So buying like the fit magazines and being in my room in the basement of my parents' house, like doing as many ab crunches because I thought that's what I had to do and limit my food intake. I had such a messed up relationship to food. And that started like at a very young age and just continued on. And I would see, so-and-so doing some fad diet and I'd jump on that bandwagon. And yes, I'd get results initially, but then they would never last. And it wasn't until 2020 when I was at my highest weight and I was an IT project management consultant then. And I was like, I got to do something about this. Like, I don't know what I'm not doing. And that's when I discovered macronutrition. And that's literally when I thought, oh my goodness, like I have found the golden keys to sustainable fat loss. And I won't lie to you, Nathan, or anybody listening to this. When I hired my macro coach, it was initially to lose weight. But I didn't realize how bad my relationship to food was until I started to understand macros and that I really didn't have to restrict foods. I'll share a story with you. I remember I was doing the fad diet, keto, although there's some good things with keto as well. But for me, it was a diet that I wanted to lose weight. I love carbs. Like whoever wants to restrict carbs, right? And
Yeah.
we're my husband and I are at a party, and my 6-year-old son, he's 6 years old then, he knew that we were doing keto, and he'd hear us say, oh, carbs are bad, he can't eat carbs. And we're at this party and he's like, Mom, well, why aren't you eating? He's like, why don't you have some fruit? Like, that's healthy for you. I said, well, honey, there's like carbs and fruit, and carbs are bad for you. And he looked up at me and he's like, well, Mom, if they're so bad for you, why are you giving them to us? And it was in that moment I realized, I'm like, something has to change. So although my journey started off as weight loss, it quickly transitioned into, I want to be the best role model for my kids. I don't want them to have the same struggles as I did growing up with food. Like, food is our fuel, it gives us our energy. And it was no wonder I had no energy because I was barely eating. I thought I had to eat like 1,200 calories, and now I eat like 2,200 calories and I'm thriving. So it's been a magical experience, and that led to me leaving my lucrative career to help women in understanding nutrition and living healthier lifestyles.
What's the battle against all of this that you found? I mean, it's people's choices and upbringings for sure, but it sounds like there's a whole movement behind how the pyramid of food or other aspects of things that are pushing people toward consuming and doing things like that. Is there something that or someone that's kind of pushing the opposite agenda of what you're teaching and preaching here?
I don't know if they're pushing an opposite agenda. What I'm teaching and preaching is more like healthier lifestyles that's based around your food, because your nutrition and your food intake drives so much of how you feel. And for women, a lot of us, as we age, our estrogen and progesterone start to decrease, and we can run into some metabolic issues. If we are, under eating, and we're coming into perimenopause, menopause stage, we're going to be hitting the perfect shitstorm, because we're going through a lot of hormone changes during puberty 2.0. Plus, if you don't have your nutrition under control, you're going to hit that perfect shitstorm. So nutrition, in my mind, is literally the foundation to everything. And that's why I use the tagline, like, transform your nutrition, transform your life, because it truly is life changing. I think the battle out there is that there's a lot of people that prey on women's insecurities, and they'll offer quick results, and women will get these quick results, but they never last. And, as women, these journeys are, you got to be in it for the long haul. And I really had to get true to myself and be like, because when I first started my journey, I was really chasing fat loss as quick as possible. And I had to really sit down and ask myself, like, Shar, why am I doing this? It really, yes, I do want some additional fat loss. I ended up losing 25 pounds and I've kept it off. But more importantly, it was building a healthier lifestyle. So I really had to get out of that old diet mentality that I think a lot of us women have, and just, building new programs and thoughts, and reprogramming kind of the old programming that I was taught growing up and what I thought I had to do to lose weight.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like the options for healthy foods isn't always available to people, especially growing up. Like, we didn't have really an option from either what our parents made us or even at school or different places, the options to be educated in what's healthy or not. I know with my kids, we're trying to help them say, hey, even if this option is available, doesn't mean it's the best choice
Yeah.
to make. Like,
Yep.
how can we coach them to make those wise decisions so they're growing up to be what you've been teaching all your students? And so you're kind of giving that legacy part of it. And then there's definitely the bullying and those other aspects of things, or things that we've learned that aren't always the true identities that we want to hold. Like you said, your teacher said the random number and you're trying to live up to the rest of your life. Like, that's not healthy or helpful at all either. And then definitely the health part of the ups and downs of roller coasters of diets and everything, has there been specifics of like where you've helped most people with, or is because it's sustainability, it's like life transformation at at every aspect of it? What are some principles of things that you've drawn out from understanding all the back process, what you're teaching your kids, and also what you're teaching, people now to help make those wise decisions with it? What are principles that you kind of outline for people there?
Yeah, so first of all, one of the main things we focus on is removing all labels from food. So we don't say it's healthy or unhealthy or bad or good, because as soon as you think it's unhealthy or bad, we subconsciously punish ourselves because we think that we've done something bad. So when you
Mm,
remove all labels from food and just view it as fuel, right? I use an example, like I have protein bars that are a good mix of macros and that are 300 calories. Or I could go to McDonald's and have a McDonald's cheeseburger that's also 300 calories. The protein bar is going to fuel me better than the McDonald's cheeseburger, but there's still nothing wrong, and you should not feel guilty about having a McDonald's cheeseburger. And having the knowledge of macros really helped me. And for those that are listening that might not know what macros are, so macros are the calories in your food, and they're broken down into protein, carbs, and fats. And just having the right distribution of that in your body can really help you thrive and get through your day. So right away, there's a lot of mindset work in my programs
can imagine.
because
Yeah.
they think like, oh, I can't eat this. I had one lady, she was so scared to eat carbs, like literally so scared, but she loves carbs, she loves bread. And so I told her, I'm like, you have got to go to Cobb's. So Cobb's is like a bakery here in Alberta, and buy your favorite bread, because she used to buy this bread there, and then she thought like carbs were bad, and that's why she's gaining all this weight. And she messaged back, she's like, you know what, Shar, I went to Cobb's and I had bread, and it was the most amazing breakfast I've had in years. And she was so happy. And it's those little moments that bring me so much joy, because it's those
Hmm.
breakthroughs, that they realize that, hey, like food is not bad for you. So going back to like healthier or not healthy, so it's always the 80-20 rule. So I always say make room in your day for something fun. So every day I pretty much have chocolate every single day because I love chocolate and that's my fun food, right? On weekends it might be a dessert, or I might go to McDonald's or whatever. It's just I've been able to just really improve my relationship of how I view food, you know, and how it
Yeah.
fuels me. So even around my kids, we talk about how food fuels us. My kids are both in competitive sports, and so making sure that they're properly fueled so that they can get through their sports the best that they can really, really helps. And yeah, so it's great.
That I think is a really good positioning, and I think a lot of times people don't think that. I mean, I try to prime my brain around that, like eating, like what's fueling you most.
Yeah.
Like if you're like a premium car, like if you put junk gasoline, you're gonna feel clunky,
Yeah.
and so really kind of that positioning I think helps so much.
100%, Nathan. When I first started my journey, it was like, oh my goodness, I can have pizza and beer on a Friday night and still meet my targets. I can still lose weight, and it was and so I found like I was including like so much fun foods. And then I had to sit down, and because I had restricted myself for so long, or when I had it, I would like skip meals to save up for pizza and beer that night, right? Like the wrong mentality. We should never be saving up for a meal, right? Um, but that's what I was doing. And so, at the beginning of my journey, I was finding so many different ways to include all the fun foods. But then as I started to pay attention, like you said, if you put like economy fuel in like a premium fuel car, it's going to run like crap. So I started to
Yeah.
feel like, okay, maybe I'm eating too much kind of, foods that aren't going to fuel me the best. So my food evolution just kind of naturally progressed to more whole foods, and just how it made me feel. Like I feel so much better with choosing more of the whole foods than the fun foods. But I always get my clients to, have their fun foods and practice it so you understand like, hey, it's still okay to have this, but also be aware of how that's making you feel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, what do you teach in regards to this for the hearers in here that's wanted to get more help? Is it, having the like Fitness Pal, My Fitness Pal, and you're kind of gauging that, or is there some like calculators
Yeah.
that you have that you've used? Like what are some things that you would help people with to
So
help gauge it?
there's a ton of calculators that you can find online. The whole caveat to that is that if you have an autoimmune condition or if you're a certain age, you might need more fats to support your autoimmune conditions. So people with Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, people in perimenopause or menopause should have higher fat diets. An online calculator is not going to give that to you. A coach will. Another thing that's missed online is a concept called nutritional periodization. When people are trying to lose weight, they just think that they can diet for like the whole year until they meet their goal weight. The truth of the matter is that your metabolism will adapt to that lower caloric intake, which leads to metabolic adaptation. And the only way to get out of that is to actually eat what your body needs at maintenance to maintain. So nutritional periodization is cycling through and planning different phases depending on your goals. So a fat loss phase should only be about 12 to 14 weeks. Then you need your recovery, which can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. And then in maintenance, you should be living in maintenance. So your maintenance calories is basically your BMR, your base level of calories times how active you are. So for me, it's around 2,200 calories to maintain my weight and my muscle mass. That's what I need to be eating. But I'm a very data-driven coach. So with any of my clients, I get them to track 2 weeks of baseline data. I don't care. I don't want them to change their eating habits. I don't want them to do anything. It's just like track. There's no shame. Like eat how you normally would. And so many people feel a lot of shame. Like, oh my God, Char's gonna be looking at my food journal. Like, what's she gonna think? But I've been there too. Like the more you can be truthful with yourself and your eating habits, the better my job will be to get you the results that you need. Most women come to me to lose the weight, but most of them are not in a position to lose weight because they've been under eating. You can't put a diet on a diet. So it's teaching them how to increase their food intake slowly over time, spending time in maintenance before we attempt the fat loss phase. But this stuff is not talked about out there. So it's so that's why I love what I do.
How do you pair now like nutrition with fitness and exercise? Because I know people are like, if I eat this, McDonald's thing, now I have to go walk in the treadmill for 2 hours just to kind of like burn something up. Like, how do you pair that together in such a healthy manner for life transformation?
Yeah, so it's already calculated for you. When I give my clients their macro calculations, their activity level is already calculated in there. So if they become more active, so during my program, say in the beginning, they're just starting out or whatever, but by the end, they're like killing it and they're, crushing 4 workouts a week and they're consistently getting 7,000 to 8,000 steps a day. Then we need to, do a macro recalculation because now they're more active. They're actually going to need more food to support their activity levels. So it's quite interesting because I had the same mindset. Like if I had a meal that was higher calories, I would think like in my head, oh my God, I just consumed 800 calories. I would go burn that on a spin bike, to the point where like I would look at my watch and if I didn't burn like 700 calories during a workout, I would then go on the spin bike and just burn more. I don't even literally pay attention to how many calories I burn now. I don't at all. I've trusted in the process. I've also changed how I work out. I do more strength training as opposed to cardio training, only because our metabolism adapts a lot quicker to cardio than it will to strength training. So you're going to see a lot more quicker results with strength training than you would with cardio. Not to say you shouldn't do any cardio. It's still good for cardiovascular health. But I had to really switch the way that I was approaching my fitness as well. Yeah.
So with your students, it's mostly women.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's always good for the audience to know so that they can connect with you further for more of that type of stuff. Shifting back to like, you're a high performer. You help people. You're very structured. You're data driven. Like you're wired a little bit different in a way for entrepreneurship and for growth and coaching people and teach people. Like, is that something that you had to grow into, or is this something that you've just always been naturally just loving, wanting to help someone, and this is kind of like something of your core strength that you've really kind of leaned into?
Sorry, you just cut out that last little bit. Can you just repeat that last little bit? So right before the core strength.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, as a high performer, you're always like trying to find the best way to help people. Is this a skill that you had to learn? Or is this something that you've always been just loving to do with like coaching people? Because we're all wired a little bit different in that regard.
Yeah. So my past career was a very successful IT project management consultant. And I worked for some of the largest North American utility companies in North America. And I've always been I've been known to be the Swiss Army knife because I can do it all. Like I started in my career with testing and then business analysis and then ended in project management. So whenever I needed to like help in projects to like, get the team together or meet deadlines, I would just get in there and do it. I think for me, I'm a hyperachiever and I view a lot of my success on I value my success on the things that I've been able to deliver to companies. And so, a lot of it also led to my burnout, Nathan. So I was an IT project manager, and at the end of 2021, I was at the height of my burnout. Like I was losing hair. I had my nutrition was on point, but I was losing hair. I was barely sleeping. Most of my teams were based in India. And so although I was taking care of myself nutritionally, I wasn't taking care of myself holistically. And it started to show like my family was asking me to quit my job. My husband's like, you got to quit, you got to quit. And I'm like, no, I can't quit. And, we were doing this renovation on our house and I could see the money going out and I was the breadwinner. So there's this fear of me leaving that, because I couldn't see beyond that, even in my coaching career. Cause I'm like, I'm just going to be a new coach. Like, what if it doesn't work out? But, I just trusted in myself. I trusted in my message. And it was the beautiful transition from corporate into this entrepreneurship. And so I think being a high performer, having that IT background, my first thing was let's get the systems up and running and processes in place. I already had like procedures written out just based on my experience, working in corporate. So I felt like I was able to utilize a lot of my corporate skills, even in my own entrepreneurial experience as well.
What are some of these key habits or things that you've had to install in this mindset and this growth journey that you're on? Are there key things outside of just the macro and the fitness that you've had to install? What are the other aspects or habits have you had to grow into?
Well, I think finding other like-minded entrepreneurs to surround yourself with, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows and unicorns over
Right.
here. It can be a drag and it can be a struggle, but to hear others like, hey, like, there might be a month where I don't have new clients. It's like, oh my God, am I failing? But no, I'm not failing. There's other people that are like this too. And, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, getting yourselves in rooms to share your message as well has been really, really key. I truly believe connection is currency. For me, when you make that connection and make people feel seen and heard, has been really successful for me too. I'm a really heart-centered led person. I have a lot of compassion for people, and I think it's just because I've been through this and I know how hard it can be. And because I've been through this, journey myself, not only just with nutrition, but in my whole life, just, wanting to become a better person and then sharing that with my clients. Just, a lot of them, they're like, I thought I was signing up for a nutrition course, but this is way more than nutrition. I'm like, oh yeah, like we cover it all, you guys, because like if you think about it, everyone knows practically kind of what they should be doing, but they're not. So it's more like you
Yeah.
can just Google, you can put into Chat GPT, whatever, give me my macros and it'll spit it out for you. But the issue is getting them into a consistency and instilling the habits. So I use a lot of the strategies that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits to help
Yeah.
my clients build their habits. And we do weekly check-in or bi-weekly check-ins. We have group coaching calls, and just the sense of, being in that community helps them feel successful and inspired to continue on too.
Love that. How do you balance being an entrepreneur, a wife, a mother to some kids? Like, how do you balance everything? And now we got holidays coming up. Like, how do you do what you do? I'm curious. What do you set up? What are some things that you kind of install to
It's
help you in the way?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A conversation I had just about 2 weeks ago, someone came up to me. She's like, I gotta share something with you. I'm like, okay. She's like, I love how you just show up as your authentic self no matter what. Like if you're out with your friends, you're your authentic self. If you're talking on your stories about your program, your authentic self, like just showing up. She goes, you go from like swim mom to hockey mom to like macro mom to being a wife, and a friends and all these different hats that we wear. For me, I think I've been able to keep real clear boundaries for myself And I believe that was unfortunately due to the burnout that I experienced when I was working crazy hours. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
at the risk of what? Like money, like yes, I was making a shit ton of money, but it wasn't really worth it. The cost to my own health and to my own family for them to see me like that wasn't worth it. So for me, it's just, having clear boundaries, um, and making time for myself. So many of us, especially as moms, we put ourselves on the back burner. We'll say, we will drop everything. Like if I'm supposed to go to the gym, and my friends call, like I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll skip to the gym. It's easy to skip the gym. I'll go hang out with my friends,
Yeah.
and it was these patterns that I was noticing in myself. I was be like, I can't continue to do that. So a lot of my program is just self-awareness, even with myself, with my clients, and then identifying patterns and why are we doing these patterns, and then what can we do differently. So now I schedule my workouts in my calendar. I schedule, time for me in my calendar. So I go for like monthly massages and, things that will give me self-care, because I'm important too. If I'm not showing up as my best, how can I support my family? And for me, that's kind of been my motto. So, and for me too, like the kids see what I'm doing. And sometimes I'll go down in my basement. I got a little home gym in the basement, and my 12-year-old son is down there. Like he asked me to write him
Yeah.
up a little workout. And I was like so proud because he sees me doing it and he wants to do it too. So it's been a really proud journey for myself too.
That's so cool. With being an entrepreneur, there was a time that you had to transition, like you talked about, from being in the corporate world to being full coaching. Like that wasn't an easy decision to make. And so many of, my hearers here, sometimes they're full-time entrepreneurs where they just don't know when the best time is to like go all in. What was that like for you when you went all in and really made that transition?
Yeah. So I remember as clear as day. So it was December 9th of 2021. I was coaching some friends on the side, but my main career was my IT project management consultant job. They had just let go of a project manager, and I'd heard through the grapevine that they were going to set up this meeting and offer me his portfolio of projects that he was managing. And literally, like 2 weeks before that, even months before that, my husband was already asking me to quit. So an hour before that meeting, I texted my husband. I said, I think they're going to ask me to stay on, like offer me a contract to stay on. And I said, are you okay if I quit? He's like, fuck yeah, quit. So I go into this meeting, and I'm wearing a shirt. Like I have good relationships. I don't ever leave on, bad grounds. And so I'm wearing a shirt that says, welcome to the shit show. Because we were literally living a shit show in this environment. And they're laughing, and they're like, hey, so we want to offer you a multi-year 6-figure contract, and this is what you're going to be doing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I know this is not what you're expecting, but I'm actually going to give my notice today. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? I said, I've loved it here. It's been amazing, but I need to go somewhere else. I need a change. And so that was in December of 2021. And I stayed on until February of 2022 just to wrap up the project that I was managing for them. And then I left and I just went all in. It was scary, but something that I don't regret at all. At all. It
Yeah.
was the best move ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it being the feeling of risk and fear
Yeah.
that so many times people take that risk to do.
Yeah.
When you're encouraging, what are the things that you had to process or think about, or even steps practically leading up to that to help you really feel comfortable with that decision and not feel rushed back to the rat race?
Well, one of them is I truly believed in the services that I had to bring to the world for the women who have struggled just like me. There's this desire and this burning desire and this belief that I could help women out there. And it's been truly remarkable. It's been the most rewarding job ever. Like
Hmm.
I've implemented some like multi-million-dollar projects, and none of them have felt as rewarding as helping other women succeed. And
Yeah.
so for me, preparing myself to transition was that belief that I can do this, I can do hard things, and just going all in. There was a grind at the beginning for sure. There was definitely a grievance period of leaving that corporate for probably a good year, to be honest. I still had that corporate mentality that I had to be on from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, right? And so I'd find in my own job as an entrepreneur, I would like get on at 8 and be like, well, wait a minute, like nobody's expecting me to be on at 8. Like I can actually drive the kids to school now and I can pick them up from school,
Yeah.
you know? So just that the time freedom that you get to be an entrepreneur, that was a hard transition for me anyways. But also looking at my finances. So I did have some finances set aside to keep me going for a few months, even longer if needed, if I needed it. So that gave me some security as well. And just the support of my family and my husband meant the world to me because I was the breadwinner at that point in my career. And so leaving that, and when we've got like a full-blown, large scale renovation on our home, it was a big risk that I took, but it was the one that was the right decision. Just it felt good. When something to me feels good in your stomach and you're excited about it, I know it's the right decision.
Have you seen the difference between your kids and your husband seeing you before and after of like what have they said so far
Should
about
I go
that
should
transition?
I go get them? Should I go ask them? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's funny. I have asked them. I said, so have you guys noticed a transition? They said yes. But when mom's busy, she can still go a little bit batshit crazy. So I have my door here. So when I have my door closed, they know not to interrupt me. If it's open or propped open, they know that they can come in. So, but yeah, 100%. There were times when I was working corporate, like I couldn't make it to some of the kids' functions, right? Like I was head down in a project, like I just could not leave. Now I have the flexibility to do that. Like I'm more involved in their lives, and that just feels like the best because I held so much guilt because I would get up and I'd just go straight to work and I'd come home, dinner would be made, like my husband was doing it all. And so there was a lot of guilt that I wasn't there for a large part of their years, but now I am, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell either an early entrepreneur that's really trying to ramp things up or someone that's like in their prime but also just still needs some motivation to keep on going? What are some principles that you've been able to achieve that has helped you be able to sustain the success and grow the success that you are?
So I think again, if you believe in what you do, what is stopping
Yeah.
you from going all in? A
Yeah.
lot of it is just limiting beliefs that you have of yourselves. And as soon as you kind of overcome them, and I get asked this question a lot, and I don't know why, because everyone says to me, they're like, you're successful at everything you do. Why is that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. And my
Yeah.
first year as a as a macro coach, I worked with a business coach for a full year, and I pretty much cried every single time that we met because I was still grieving this like leaving the corporate and entering this entrepreneur. Like, what if people don't like me? Like I'm an introvert, so showing up on social media was very, very awkward for me. But the more I did it, the easier it became. Like recording on stories, like I just did a series of stories tonight, right before our podcast. It was easy. Like I did one take each, blah, 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 boom. 2 years ago, I was taking probably 20 to 30 takes of each story to do it, right? So the more repetition you do, the easier it becomes, and you just break kind of new levels. And I feel like I'm continuing to break through new levels, and those ceilings then become my floor, and I just keep going up and up. So it's just, I think it's that determination that I have. And because I'm a hyperachiever, like I just believe it, and it's coming. Just yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Well, I've been super stoked to hear your story and hear about some of these principles that we've been able to go over. One last question I want to ask you before we jump here. Is there any random things that you bring with you when you're out and about? I'm
Yeah.
just curious what your everyday carry is, because oftentimes people have some unique ones that they bring. What's
Well, I
yours?
bring my water bottle everywhere I go. I bring my water. This, see, you can see it's like scuffed up. It's all scuffed
You
up.
do.
No, I bring my water. So always have water with me. Always have snacks with me, because when I don't have snacks with me, then I'm more inclined to go to like fast food or Starbucks and grab something that's really won't nourish me as well as something else. So I try and bring snacks with me, water. If I'm taking supplements, I'll have my supplements with me. But that's about it. I'm pretty
Yeah.
honestly, I'm a simple girl, and a lot of it when you are on this transforming this health transformation journey, a lot of it is just sticking to the basics. and getting consistent with the basics. So many of us are worried about like, oh my God, am I supposed to eat at this time or that time? And they're not even like consistently getting 6,000 or 7,000 steps in. Somebody messaged me, she's like, I read on the internet that if I drink like ice cold water first thing in the morning, it's going to increase my metabolism. Now I've worked with her in the past. I'm like, you know what's going to increase your metabolism? If you eat properly and eat more food. She was under eating, right? But she's worried about, this ice cold water is going to boost her metabolism. So I feel like nail the basics first. And then expand from there, adding different modalities. But so many of us are trying to be too complex at the beginning, and it's too hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave some of these links down below, but how can people follow you and connect with you further?
Yeah, so on social media, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on Designed by Shar, so Shar with an S, S-H-A-R. So I design macro plans for you. A lot of people are like, are you an interior designer? I'm like, no, I design macro plans and strength training plans. So yeah, so that's where I'm at, And I own my website as well, designedbyshar.com.
Perfect. I'll put some of those links down below for everybody to follow her. But again, thank you for being on the show. Guys, thank you for listening in. And until next time, to inspire you, to encourage you, we'll be here to help you all along the way here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nathan.